it has a few political verses there as well as the mentioning of Ahlul Bayt as well.
Can you highlight the political verses?
Well, I mean, there was this part, if you don't, I mean, yeah, there was this part over here saying, because it's a conversational poem.
Yeah.
There's a conversation going on here between myself and insomnia, you know, and you know, as you read, you know, wow, I'm asking insomnia, why do you come to me? And then I get to this part in the actual poem where insomnia replies back to me and says, instead of dropping tears, why don't you go and strive? Your country's land with blood until now being filled. Heads are being chopped and many Shias killed. Abis and John both died in a painful way, just like that. Your people give their lives today. So there's a bit of politics going on there about what's happening back in my country.
Yes.
And yeah, that's going back to the message. You're free to write whatever you want on whatever issue. If you want to send a message across, you send it through poetry.
Yeah, yeah. And also very, very interesting that you've again got the state of mind that we'll go through when we're unable to sleep.
Yeah.
Often feeling quite vulnerable. But here is this very strong voice that's sort of reminding us all that actually this sleepless night is nothing in comparison to...
Because we all go through it.
Yeah.
I mean, we lie down and think, you know, what's going on? What am I doing? You know, where am I going?
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I mean, what's happening? You know, I've just had a nice meal and I'm lying down in bed. Other people don't have such privileges.
Yeah.
And you start to think, you know, and the more you think, you know, the more you're led to think about other things.
Yes.
So, you know, you kind of have this thing with yourself where you wouldn't talk to yourself, of course, I don't have that problem, but you start thinking about particular issues, and they can be very, very random. So with me, when I start thinking, I use poetry, and I make sure those thoughts and those feelings are captured.
Yeah, and often it's when we're not sleeping, it's the things that we actually don't have time to deal with in the day.
Exactly.
It's like you're busy dealing with something else, and it's at night that the things that are going on underneath kind of come to the surface. I mean, again, yeah, it's very clear that the style is completely different. The mood is very different as well. But you have recited it in Husseiniya.
Yeah, of course, I've recited it in a poetic manner. Like
what's been the reaction to this?
Yeah, I mean, that's a tradition as well. You know, like how you have the reciters reciting it on a tune. Us poets have a tradition of reciting these poems in our own way.
Yeah, yeah.
We don't have to have a tune, but we can send a message across, you know, using our own voices.
Yes.
And people like it. People don't. People prefer tunes. People prefer that. And again, that's adding to the variety that we talked about earlier on.
Yeah, yeah. And again, because of the register, and as you say, it's more like conversational. Someone could again who might not be so used to the more formal poetry could relate to this as well.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Because we all go through it, and you know, when you're talking about this conversational one, you know, you talk, and then there's a reply that comes from insomnia. You know, thinking about it, people would think, oh, this guy is, you know, is he nuts? Or, you know, is he crazy? But
well, they might secretly think, God, that sounds like me.
That sounds like, oh, yeah, that sounds like me. You know, that's what happened to me the other day when I was talking to myself in the mirror. But yeah. I mean, we go through it, and sometimes you apply words to how you feel, and you express it, and you find yourself writing a long poem on a particular way, and you've got politics there, and you've got the mentioning of Ahlul Bayt, and you've got tears, and you've got one attacking the other. Yeah. You know, where I think there's a part that just came to my eyes. I shouted back at insomnia, and because she was accusing me of dropping tears that weren't so precious, you know. And then I mentioned, no, every tear I drop for them is auspicious. So there's an attack, and then at the end we Insomnia apologizes, you know, and there's this part here, the interesting part. One request for you, and please don't make it fly. To your lovely poems, don't ever say goodbye. You know, I know the words I've said just now will make you cry, and you know, there's emotion involved. There's just one poem, how you could have so much conflict, how you could have people falling out, and then people saying, you know what, I'm sorry about what I did. It's just, you know, it makes it more interesting.
Yeah. So let's take a look at Ali reciting one of his poems.
My greatest achievement in poetry would, I don't know, I think everything for me, every word, every letter, every stanza is a great achievement, to be honest. I think that question is not a question that I can just answer straight away. You know, just being accepted as a poet for Ahlul Bayt is a great achievement for me. Why do I enjoy it? Because it's an art. It's you know, it's endless. You know, there's no limits to it. You know, whatever you want to talk about, how, you know, you can talk about it through poetry. And it's fun. For me, I enjoy it a lot. There's something about it that I'm really attracted to, you know, and even when I'm at home and, you know, my dad's writing a poem, I'm always interested to know what he's written. You know, he reads out what he's written, and then I try and answer him with poetry. Or sometimes not writing for poetry for Ahlul Bayt, but when we talk to each other sometimes, if I wanted him to get me the cup, I try and, you know, express what I want from him through poetry. So it just makes it quite, you know, enjoyable. It's an art for me. Well, I started off writing Arabic poetry, but then I realized that if I wanted to do something, I have to be really good at it. So I just felt like, you know, if I wanted to be really good at it, I have to be better than my dad. So I just said to myself, you know what, let me do something not only I can master, but I can be unique at it. So I wanted to do something different, and that's when I got into writing English poetry. It's just, you know, when you sit down and you've got a pen and your paper in front of you, people use the pen and paper to draw, but I just use it to write a few stanzas and, you know, make others listen to it.
Okay, so there's another very beautiful poem here that you've got called Devoted Eyes. Can you tell a little bit about what that poem is about?
This poem is about Imam Sajjad alayhi salam. And you know, there was this time, well, Imam Sajjad went through a lot of pain.
Yeah.
And you know, the people wanted Imam Sajjad alayhi salam to just try and forget. I mean, there was a conversation that went on between Imam Sajjad alayhi salam and Abu Hamza al-Thumali. So this piece of history, you know, I found quite interesting and wanted to apply in one of the poems, and this is one of them actually. Father of Hamza, when he came asking if you could continue without the grief of Karbala and every pain that you went through, to al-Thumali you replied, this is not possible to do. O Sajjad, I'd give you my eyes. O Sajjad, I'd give you my life and eyes, you know.
Yeah.
O Sajjad, I'd give you my eyes and every pain that you went through. So there's a small conversation going on over there in that poem as well, in such a small stanza.
Yeah.
And then it goes on, and Imam Sajjad replies to him, you know, how can I forget about the pain when I saw this, when I saw that, Ali Akbar, you know, my brother Ali Akbar, my uncle Abu al-Fadl Abbas.
And what's beautiful here is well, beautiful, but obviously it's sad as well, where you say turmoil in the heartland of the Muslim world, which separates the people from the ignorant and wise. If we were there, lives would be sold and many painful stories told from your devoted eyes. I mean, you know, there was turmoil then, there's turmoil now.
Yeah, I mean, see, that particular issue I come back to in the last stanza. I mean, I do mention here, you used to mention the turmoil because Imam Sajjad went through a lot, not just Karbala, even after Karbala. I speak to myself when I think of Sajjad, I feel so sorry. Oh Master, I wanted to ask, his body how did you bury? Okay. How careful were you with the wounds, combining patience with worry? How did you let go of Hussein? His body how did you bury? And then I go on to say, so many tyrants you faced in your painful life. You'll stay alive in our heart, and every tyrant dies. Your father's head was on a spear, you saw and dropped every tear from your devoted eyes, from your devoted eyes. So yeah, it's a very, very, very powerful poem, and it does contain a lot of emotion. Replying back to Abu Hamza Thamali, and it just continues mentioning what Imam Sajjad went through.
If people wanted to get hold of your poems, how do they do that?
Well, it's easy to say Google me,
yeah.
but yeah, if you, there are a number of websites out there that contain some of my poetry. It would be easy to Google my name, and you'd see a number of websites that contain. And there's a website coming out that would be open very soon, which is my father's website, and I've got a section there that has all my poetry in audio and in writing. So yeah, if they put jaberalkathemi.com, they'd find it.
MashaAllah. Thank you. Thank you very much for sharing your poetry with us. Very inspiring, and inspiring for all the Muslims out there as well to connect to Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, as well as convey the message of Islam. You're watching Outside the Box, and I hope you've enjoyed the programme. I wanted to thank you, Ali, for being here. Thank you. Inshallah, that will be very inspiring for other Muslims to engage in writing in order to convey the message of Islam. So thank you for watching, and inshallah we will see you in the next programme. Assalamu alaikum.